Hi, this is Susan Allen from thequiltasylum.com in McKinney, Texas, and today I want to talk to you about the Clover Bias Tape Maker. This handy little tool is commonly used for appliqué when you want to make stems for leaves and flowers. That's its predominant use. So before we get into talking about how to use the tool, I want to take a second and talk about fabric grain. Let's say you have a piece of fabric and you need to know what the grain is, but you have no selvages to work with. So how do you figure that out? Well, if you pull on the straight sides, this side does not have much stretch. This side has a little bit of stretch. This is your length of grain. The least amount of stretch is your length of grain. So your selvage would have been here and here. This is your cross grain. This diagonal is your bias. So you can see there's a lot of stretch. So we want to cut our strips for a bias tape across the bias grain of the fabric. So let me flip this over just to give you a quick look. Straight of grain is your warp, no stretch. Cross grain is your weft, a little bit of stretch, and bias splits the two, and it has lots of stretch. So let's look at how the tool works. I have a strip of fabric that I have cut for my tape maker. Now this tape maker happens to be 3/8 inch finished. So we cut our strips always twice the finished size. So 3/8 plus 3/8 equals 6/8, which is equals to 3/4 of an inch. These handy little makers come in a variety of sizes from a 1/4 inch finished all the way up to, I believe, an inch or an inch and a half finished. So to use the tool, I will take the fabric and I will turn it upside down, and I like to give it just a little spritz of flatter or best press or something, just so when I put the iron on it and get that crease, the crease stays. So we're going to feed the fabric into this slot, and we feed it with the wrong side down. Now you see I have a point here, and it makes it easier to get this started. And if you'll look, there is a slot. And the slot, if you take a pin and you just kind of push through, that will feed the fabric to come out the other end. So turn it back to the ironing surface. The flat side goes down, the colored angle side goes up. I will take my pin and I will pin to my ironing surface. It's sort of my third hand, and put the tip of my hot iron next to the tip of the tape maker. And I will very slowly push and pull the iron against that tip, making sure that my fabric is feeding straight into the maker. Come all the way out that end. Turn so you can see the edges are completely turned under. I didn't get a really good press on that last bit. I rushed it a little bit. And if I were to turn this over and give it another little press, there you have a perfectly finished bias strip. Now if you have a stem that is just very straight, you're not putting any bend in it, no curve, you don't need it to curve, you just need a straight line with both edges turned under, you can cut straight of grain or cross grain strips and feed them through the tape maker. As you can see, there is no stretch in this as there was in this one. See how it's stretching? So we'll do the same thing for it, and I'll show you the difference when they're finished. Wrong side down, I bend it a little bit to start feeding it through the slot. Take my pin. Oops, we're jammed up. Of course, because, you know, I'm making a video. Feed that in. There we go. Got a little bit sticking out. Straighten it up a little bit. Put my third hand in there, or my extra finger, however you want to look at it. And yes, I have the steam on. Unpin, flip it over, give it a nice finishing press. So now I have two stems that look exactly alike. However, this one, if there's a curve, it's not really going to bend and lay nicely for me. This one, since it's biased, if I do need to curve it, as you can see how nicely that curves. If you're doing a circle, if you're doing just a bend in a stem. So if you just need a straight piece, you can use straighter grain. If you need it to bend, you need to use bias grain. Clover Bias Tape Maker. It's going to be your best applique friend. Again, this is Susan Allen with thequiltasylum.com in McKinney, Texas. And thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.